Jungkook rejects luxury brands.
The Jeon answer that sparked global speculation. Was this really just a joke, or a quiet declaration of identity? What if a single word, spoken in laughter and delivered in less than a second, was never meant to be just funny? What if that word, simple, spontaneous, almost childlike, was actually loaded with meaning? And what if the world's most powerful fandom sensed it immediately, long before any official statement could ever confirm it? On December 20th, 2025, a short clip began circulating across social media platforms, rapidly moving from fan accounts to global timelines, from casual laughter to intense analysis. The video featured Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, sitting casually in a dimly lit room alongside his bandmates. The setting was informal: dark sofas, a wooden table, relaxed postures, and a soft atmosphere that felt more like a private hangout than a polished broadcast. And yet, within that unguarded space, something happened that fans are still talking about. When the members were casually naming the fashion brands they were wearing, the answers followed expectation. Jeon greeted the room with his familiar warmth. V confidently named Celine, a luxury house long associated with his public image. Then came Jungkook's turn. Cameras rolled. Anticipation was mild but present. After all, Jungkook is a global ambassador for one of the most recognizable fashion brands in the world. The answer should have been obvious, but instead of naming a luxury label, Jungkook smiled, laughed softly, and said just one word: Jeon. Not Calvin Klein, not Chanel, not any high fashion name tied to contracts, campaigns, or billboards. Just Jeon, his family name. Jeon Jungkook. The room erupted in laughter. The moment felt light, playful, almost throwaway. But ARMY didn't laugh it away. They paused. They replayed. They clipped. They shared. And then they asked the question that refuses to go away: why did that answer feel different? Within hours, the clip, originally uploaded by a fan account, crossed millions of views. By the end of the day, it had surpassed 3.9 million plays and hundreds of thousands of likes. Replies flooded in, ranging from jokes about underwear sponsorships to affectionate comments calling the moment the cutest thing ever. But beneath the humor, something deeper began to surface. A quiet but persistent speculation grew louder with every retweet. Was Jungkook joking? Or was Jungkook saying something without saying it? To understand why this single word mattered so much, it's important to understand who Jungkook is in 2025, not just as an idol, but as a symbol. Since debuting as a teenager, Jungkook has grown under a microscope. Every hairstyle, every tattoo, every performance choice has been examined, praised, criticized, and commercialized. Over the years, his image has evolved from the shy magne to a global icon whose face sells products before words ever appear. His partnership with Calvin Klein marked a turning point, not only for his career but for the fashion industry itself. Campaigns featuring Jungkook didn't just trend, they redefined engagement metrics. Billboards shut down traffic. Social media crashed under the weight of global attention. Jungkook wasn't just wearing clothes, he was moving markets, and yet, that's exactly why his answer mattered. In an era where celebrity-brand relationships are meticulously crafted, negotiated, and enforced, Jungkook's refusal, playful or not, to name any brand felt almost radical. Fans immediately noticed that he seemed to glance around the room, as if genuinely checking whether any branded item was visible. When he found none, he didn't force an answer. He didn't perform. He didn't advertise. He chose himself. Jeon. For some fans, it was simply Jungkook being Jungkook, the same boy who once chose comfort over couture, sincerity over spectacle. For others, the moment carried symbolic weight. Was this Jungkook quietly asserting his identity beyond endorsements? Was he reminding the world that before he is a brand ambassador, before he is a global superstar, he is simply Jeon Jungkook? The timing only intensified the speculation. This moment arrived during a sensitive transitional phase for BTS, as members gradually returned from mandatory military service and began reintroducing themselves to the public, not as untouchable idols, but as individuals reshaped by time, experience, and reflection. content released during this period has felt noticeably more intimate, more grounded, more human. That's why fans didn't view the clip as isolated entertainment. They saw it as part of a pattern. Since returning, Jungkook has appeared more relaxed, more self-directed, and more comfortable setting boundaries, subtle ones, perhaps, but visible to those who have watched him grow for over a decade. The laughter in the room felt genuine. The absence of branding felt intentional. And the answer felt honest. Media analysts have long noted that Jungkook occupies a unique position in global pop culture. He is simultaneously one of the most marketable faces in the industry and one of the most private. He rarely explains himself. He doesn't clarify jokes. He lets moments exist and allows fans to interpret them freely. This ambiguity has become part of his power. And so, when he said Jeon, it didn't correct the speculation. He didn't lean into it either. He let it breathe. Fans quickly filled the space with their own interpretations. Some joked that Jungkook was too loyal to himself to advertise for free. Others suggested he was poking fun at the expectation that idols must always be on, always selling something. A few went further, arguing that the moment reflected a deeper fatigue with being constantly associated with products rather than artistry. What's striking is that none of these interpretations feel forced. Jungkook's history supports them all. He has spoken before about wanting to be recognized for his music rather than his image. He has expressed discomfort with excessive labeling. He has repeatedly emphasized sincerity over performance in his interactions with fans. The Jeon answer fits seamlessly into this narrative, not as a statement, but as a continuation. Industry insiders have quietly acknowledged that moments like this are becoming increasingly valuable. In a world saturated with advertisements, authenticity stands out more than perfection. Jungkook didn't promote a brand, yet the clip generated global attention. He didn't sell a product, yet conversations about fashion, identity, and celebrity erupted overnight. Ironically, by refusing to play the branding game, he reinforced his influence within it. The platform where the clip appeared also added to its mystique. With the W logo visible in the corner, fans speculated that the footage originated from internal content tied to Weverse or a special program produced by HYB. If so, the casual tone wasn't accidental. It was curated intimacy, a space where idols are allowed to exist without scripts. That context matters. Jungkook wasn't on a red carpet. He wasn't in an interview chair. He wasn't being asked to represent anything other than himself. And that's exactly what he did. As the clip continued to spread, Western media began to take notice. Not because of the joke itself, but because of the reaction to it. Few artists can generate this level of discourse from a single word. Fewer still can do so without controversy, scandal, or provocation. Jungkook achieved it through warmth. This is why many fans believe the moment will be remembered long after its humor fades. Not because Jungkook rejected luxury brands, he didn't. Not because he broke any contract, he didn't. But because he reminded the world of something easy to forget in the age of hyper-commercialization. Identity comes first. As BTS prepares for future projects, albums, and tours, moments like this fuel anticipation in ways teasers never could. Fans aren't just waiting for music. They're watching a transformation. They're observing how each member redefines themselves after years of obligation and expectation. Jungkook's Jeon moment feels like a quiet marker on that journey. So, was it just a joke? Maybe, but in a career defined by intention, even jokes carry weight. And in a world where everything is branded, sometimes the most powerful statement is choosing your own name. The laughter has faded. The clip has looped millions of times. Yet the question remains, lingering in comment sections and late-night discussions across time zones. When Jungkook said Jeon, was he laughing with us? Or was he reminding us who he really is? And perhaps more importantly, was he asking the world to remember it too? The question doesn't disappear. It grows louder the longer the clip circulates. Because the more people replay that moment, the clearer it becomes that this was not simply about fashion, nor about contracts, nor even about humor. It was about control. And in the modern pop industry, control is everything. For years, Jungkook has been positioned as the ultimate symbol of global appeal. He is polished, powerful, and endlessly adaptable. Brands love him because he can embody luxury without arrogance, masculinity without rigidity, vulnerability without weakness. Yet that adaptability has also meant that his image is often spoken for before he ever opens his mouth. Expectations arrive first. Assumptions follow. And answers are usually predicted in advance. That is why Jeon landed the way it did, because no one predicted a media ecosystem trained to anticipate every move of a superstar. Jungkook disrupted the script by refusing to play it at all. Not loudly, not rebelliously, not with confrontation. He did it the Jungkook way, softly, warmly, and with a smile that disarmed rather than challenged. And paradoxically, that made it more powerful. News anchors, cultural commentators, and fan analysts alike began to notice the same pattern emerging in the post-military era of BTS content. The members appear less concerned with optics and more invested in presence. Conversations feel less curated. Silences last longer. Laughter comes easier. Jungkook, in particular, seems to occupy the space with a new kind of confidence. Not the confidence of someone trying to prove relevance, but of someone who already knows it. This is why some ARMY describe the Jeon moment as symbolic rather than accidental. Symbolic not because Jungkook intended to send a coded message, but because it revealed something real. It showed instinct. And instinct, when observed closely, often tells the truth faster than language ever could. What makes this moment resonate even more is the contrast it creates with Jungkook's public image over the last few years. He has been styled, photographed, and branded at the highest level. His association with luxury fashion has been flawless, almost cinematic. Every campaign frame has looked deliberate, expensive, and untouchable. And yet, in that small room, on that casual sofa, none of that mattered. There was no brand to hide behind. No aesthetic to maintain. Only a name, his name. Fans who have followed Jungkook since debut know how meaningful that is. He entered the industry at just 15 years old, giving up anonymity before he fully understood what it meant. His adolescence unfolded in front of cameras. His mistakes became headlines. His growth became content. For someone like Jungkook, reclaiming something as simple as a name can feel monumental. That's why many fans didn't just laugh. They felt something. Emotion flooded the comment sections. Not dramatic, not loud, but affectionate and protective. Words like, "my baby," are Jungkooky, and "he's still just Jeon Jungkook" appeared again and again. The moment reminded fans of why they connected to him in the first place. Not because of brands, but because of sincerity. And sincerity, ironically, is what brands can never manufacture. From a media perspective, this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Analysts point out that Jungkook's influence doesn't weaken when he steps away from overt branding. It intensifies. Because audiences today are hyper-aware of advertising. They recognize forced mentions. They scroll past rehearsed endorsements. What stops them is authenticity. A real laugh. A real pause. A real choice. Jungkook's refusal to name a brand didn't diminish his value as a global ambassador. If anything, it reinforced it. It showed that his appeal doesn't rely on logos. Logos rely on him, and that distinction matters. AS discussions continued. Some fans revisited older interviews and moments, connecting dots that now seemed clearer in hindsight. Jungkook has often spoken about wanting to be seen as a musician first, about feeling pressure to meet expectations, about struggling with the idea that his image sometimes feels larger than his sense of self. The Jeon answer didn't contradict these statements, it aligned with them. It's also worth noting that Jungkook didn't explain himself afterward. There was no clarification post, no comment on Weverse, no playful follow-up. He let the moment exist on its own terms. That silence speaks volumes. Because if it were just a joke meant to be understood one way, it would have been easy to frame it as such. Instead, he trusted the audience to feel it rather than decode it, and audiences did. This is why the clip has longevity. It doesn't rely on shock value. It doesn't age out after one laugh. It invites interpretation. It opens space for conversation. And most importantly, it humanizes someone the world often treats as untouchable. BTS moves closer to their next chapter. one that fans believe will redefine not just their sound, but their relationship with fame. Moments like this feel like quiet previews. Not teasers for music, but signals of mindset. Signals that the members are stepping back into the spotlight on their own terms. Jungkook saying Jeon may not change contracts or campaigns, but it changes perspective. It reminds fans and industry watchers alike that behind every endorsement is a person, and behind every image is a name that existed long before the spotlight arrived.